Hello friends, it's John McLain welcoming you back into the air-conditioned confines of the studio. It's the guitar foster parent. And now, as you know, in our last video, we declared our refinishing of the body completed. Is it perfect? No. Well, today I'm going to show you a couple of things as we prepare to transition into the electronics phase of getting the pickguard put together. As a Strat style guitar, the electronics are mounted to the back of the pickguard. And we got a new pickguard because instead of white, we're going black. I'm going to show you that today. In fact, to tease, here is a bird's eye view of what the guitar will look like minus the electronics. Pretty sweet. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the electronics today, specifically the new pickup that we got for the guitar. And I'm going to also confess to you the sins of my refinish job. Now, I'm going to also tell you up front, as I've said many times, making excuses for myself, that I have never done this before. And I'm going off what I've learned watching YouTube videos and reading the back of paint cans and, frankly, on a wing and a prayer. Remembering, of course, that none of the guitars that I own or that I make are what you would call in the classic car world trailer queens. These guitars are designed to be played. I want them to look cool, yes, because, a guitar that doesn't look cool might not make as much music as one that does. I don't throw them out the window and I do my best, but with all of that front-loaded excuse making, let's have a close-up look at the body and how it wound up. Well, you can see here that as you have kind of a close-up with a little bit of light going over the body of the guitar, the main issue that I had was the pore fill. The pore filling that we did with our epoxy, if you remember the epoxy that we did. Here's the video, by the way, above if you'd like to see that process. And maybe I'll watch it again to see if I can figure out what went wrong. Something obviously did. I'm going to focus right here on this spot, which you can obviously see in the picture. When I rub my hand over this, I don't feel any changes except in texture. When I touch around this area, I have kind of a feeling that you would feel if you were rubbing something that was painted with a matte finish, which this guitar was. But if I rub it over the epoxy that is smoothed on here and sanded, it feels different. It's smoother. It doesn't have that, grainy feel that you would have with like a matte photograph versus a glossy. I don't know if I did something wrong. Should I have used a different type of paper on the epoxy? I know I used the right kind because I looked it up. But something went wrong in this process. I didn't sand it right or something. And I'm a little surprised and disappointed that our primer didn't cover that up. But that may not be what that stuff's for anyway. Again, I'm just shooting from the hip here. But as you can see, everywhere that we had non-perfect epoxy, so here, and also, I don't know if you can see these stripes here, these are from the drips. And in fact, go ahead and lift the neck off because we're not ready for it yet, and lift off the pick guard. If we flip the guitar over on the back, if you'll recall, when we did the pore fill, we had some dripping along the back here because of the way that it dried. And I don't know if you can see, but those lines where those drips are completely smooth. All right, you can't feel them at all, but you can see them through the finish. So I'm not really sure why that happened, but it did. And then, of course, as we look around the front of the guitar, the color is not terribly even. There are some spots here, and I'm going to kind of show you as we bend it around the light a little bit. You can kind of see it's not perfect, but it still looks pretty cool. And in fact, I'll show you the close-up view, because remember, when I picked out these colors and such, I was really going for a blue jeans and brown leather belt. That was my wife that kind of mentioned that as I was asking for ideas. And she thought, what about a denim? And I thought, well, denim would look good. And so this is kind of the idea. And I think it's going to look killer still. Using the classic car analogy again, they have in the classic car world what they call 10-footers. A car that looks really awesome from 10 feet, but when you get in close, you see some of the blemishes. Oh, I have them too. Oh well, so anyway, I can make music with blemishes, and so can the Gio Jazz. So, let's talk now about what we're going to do next. Here's the pickguard that I got. This is not a Stratocaster, and it's not drilled like a Stratocaster pickguard is. Strat pickguards are a dime a dozen. You can get them in every color and in all kinds of different configurations, but this Ibanez Gio is drilled differently. It has a different number of holes to mount the pickguard, and it has a slightly different shape in terms of its routing, and really different on the bridge, although that didn't factor in, thankfully. I was worried about that. But I did find a pickguard for an Ibanez Gio, but Ibanez made a bunch of iterations of the Gio. If you go online, you can find where they made tons of different types, different pickup configurations, different everything. And so I found this black pickguard. It is a 3-ply, as you can see. It's got the white layer in between, which dresses it up a little bit, kind of gives it a bound look. It does have a little piece of shielding here. As you know, I'm a big believer in shielding, so we're going to be shielding this with copper tape before we put it all together for the last time. It has the correct pickup configuration. You know, we have HSS, you know, in guitar speak, humbucker single single. And if you'll recall, this guitar had white pickups. Not anymore. We're going to have black pickups, black pickguard, black knobs, and a black cap on the 5-way switch. So that's pretty cool. You also may recall from a past episode that I looked far and wide for a bridge for this guitar. I want you to look at the hole configuration near the bridge cavity where the bridge mounts. You can see right here we have 3 holes and then a bit of a space and then 3 more holes. The vast majority, in fact I'm going to go on a limb and say almost all, of the Strat style bridges mount with 6 screws, yes. But they mount evenly spaced, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not the case with this one. So as I went out and looked over the internet, because I was really wanting to put a black bridge on this, and a black output jack on this, and a black back plate here on the neck, and also to cover the tremolo cavity on the back, I wanted to do black everything. I think it would have looked awesome. The problem is that these bridges are just not available anywhere. In fact, if you have a shop where you can machine metal parts for things, make bridges for this whole configuration. You'll be the only one in the world that sells them, although I may be the only one in the world that's looking to buy them. I don't know. But in any case, so here's what we're going to do. The original bridge, is not a thing wrong with it. It was rickety and loose. It's not anymore. I took and I tightened the sustain block. I got it all cleaned. I took all of the saddles off, cleaned it thoroughly with Q-tips and toothpicks and all that good stuff, and got it ready to mount back on. The bridge is great. And I did get a new tremolo bar for it, but the bridge is going to be chrome. So I thought, well, I don't want the bridge to be the only chrome piece on here because it's going to stick out. So here's what I decided to do. I'm going to go ahead and leave the output jack bezel chrome to kind of complement the bridge and the tremolo bar. And then I'm also, we remember that we also have chrome tuners. And you know, now that I think twice about it, these tuners, which again, this neck is brand new, so these tuners are pristine. I mean, they're right from the factory. I don't want to change these because it would look weird. I would want to put black tuners on, right? So now I don't have to do that. These will now complement the bridge, and it might actually end up looking sort of cool, kind of accessorized and coordinated, you know, like fashion, which I'm not very good at. But in any event, that's what we've decided to do in terms of dressing and the furniture on the guitar. So now, let's talk pickups. Here is the pickguard that I took out of the guitar at the very beginning of the project. Here you can see it close up. Move the guitar body out of the way. So you can see here, humbucker, single coil, single coil. I have not tested any of these electronics. I was told by the gentleman I bought this thing from that last time it had a neck on it, it played fine. So I'm going to trust him, and you know, if we have a problem, we'll deal with it. You know, buyer beware. I'm fine with that. But everything's white. Okay, so here's what I got. I got covers for these 2 single coils, trusting that they're going to play just fine and sound good. However, with the humbucker here, I did notice that there's a lot of spillage down around the ribbon that surrounds the coils and stuff. There's been liquid in here. And typically with these humbuckers, that can affect the sound, especially if that liquid had sugar in it, you know, like if it was a Coke. or a Coke with something in it that had sugar, if you know what I mean. In any event, I decided to replace this humbucker with a black one. What I wound up doing, and look at this pickguard, look how flimsy it is. This is a single ply, very cheapy pickguard. So, what I found and what I bought for this thing was on eBay. There was a gentleman that purchased a 2023 Epiphone SG Limited Edition Special. That's a mouthful. I'm going to say from the get-go, I love Epiphone guitars. I own several of them. In fact, there's a G400 behind me, which is an SG shape, flame top. That is a wonderful instrument. I've had it for years. That guitar will do anything you want it to do. So this guy's ad attracted me immediately. He removed the pickups from his Epiphone SG that he bought and put something else to his own liking in and is selling these new pickups. So here they are. I really sought to get 2-wire pickups because that's how the guitar was wired originally. So both pickups have 2 wires. Be easy to hook up. There's one that has a black wire, and then there's another one that has a red wire. Okay, here they are. They say Epiphone on the back. He even included the springs and mount screws, which is really nice of him to do, although I'm going to use black mount screws instead, just so they'll look good on the black guitar. They are, of course, black. They're ceramic magnets, which is really great. One of these is obviously the neck pickup, and one of them is get them in the picture where you can actually see them here. One of them is the neck, and one of them is the bridge. Now, he was kind enough to send me a card, and he said the neck pickup is a 650R, and this pickup is 8.68 ohms. The bridge pickup is 700T, and it is 15.61 ohms. But these aren't labeled, and those numbers aren't engraved anywhere. On here it says Epiphone, and this one says 50, and this one says 52.2, and that's pretty much all it says. No problem. There's a tool for that. If you don't have a good multimeter, put it on your Christmas list. This one's an old Craftsman that I got when I think Sears was still in business. It's great. You can get these. They're not expensive, and you can get them almost anywhere. Get you a multimeter. They can do so many things. They're great for testing batteries. They're great for testing continuity, whether in a guitar to make sure your solders are nice and there's no shorts. You can go through and check for shorts. You can also check for things like resistance, which is what we're going to check now to figure out which of these pickups is the bridge and which is the neck. I don't need the bridge pickup, right? I'll save it, or I don't need the neck pickup rather. I will save that one for another project. But the bridge pickup is going to go in the Gio Jazz. So all we have to do is we're going to take our multimeter, and down here is where we measure resistance, ohms. So since we're in the 20 ohm range, between 0 and 20, they have 15 and 8 is what they're supposed to be. Now yes, this says kilo ohms, but all that does is move the decimal point, so no big deal. Our display, now of course since we've got it set and the leads aren't touching anything, it reads 1, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to apply a lead to each wire on each pickup. So we'll test the red one first, I guess. Why not? And so what we should expect to see is either as 8.68 or 15.61. Now, this number will vary. Why? Because in order to put these leads on the wires, I'm going to have to hold them on with my finger. Well, my body has resistance, and so that's going to affect the reading. But it shouldn't be much. It should just be a few, points here and there. Should be obvious which one is which. So, let's test the red one. You're probably not going to be able to see this number, but I'll set it here anyway. In fact, I think this has a handy-dandy stand. Oh, it does. Looky there. Okay, so let's see. Well, you can't see that, but I'll read it to you. Okay, so I'm going to take a lead on each wire. It doesn't matter which one. Again, there's no electricity happening here. We're just testing this to see the resistance between these 2 points. And as soon as I touch this one, we should get a reading. And we do, and that reading is 8.9. 8.9. Well, since I said that the neck pickup was 8.68, I think we've identified the red one as the neck pickup. So if we want to test our theory, we can now take the black one and apply the same test. And according to my seller, who again, I'm so grateful he gave me this little card with all this information, the bridge pickup should be around 15.61. So we take our wires, apply a lead to each one. Now you do want to be careful that you're not laying it on the insulation. You want to get it on the wire and then take a reading. And looky here, 15.9. 15.61 is what his reading was, so we have identified definitively that the pickup with the black wire is the bridge pickup and therefore will become mated to our Gio Jazz project. This will go in my special place that I put parts for future projects. Put this on your list and maybe Santa will bring you one. This is a kind of a generic Ibanez Gio, so many holes. Usually sell these by how many holes. You know, it's a 9-hole pickguard or it's a 11-hole pickguard or what have you. I ordered this one based upon the number of holes drilled in the body for the pickguard, and of course the general shape and the pickup configuration had to be correct. This one checked all those boxes, but there's a slight problem. When I lay this pickguard on the body, we should expect that all of the holes will line up perfectly, right? Well, they don't. In fact, if I line this up to cover the cavity, which it has to do, that's a requirement, and then I line it up to where the neck will clear in the neck pocket, which again is a requirement, and then I line it up here so that the bridge will fit, which again is a requirement. What I find is that each of these holes is slightly off, sometimes by half a hole. Now, this is not a tragedy that we can't fix, okay? Because for one thing, any work that I do to secure this pickguard is going to be hidden by the pickguard itself. So that's not a problem. Here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to toenail the little black screws in so they're kind of worked in sideways. You see this a lot with inexpensive guitars. The holes are drilled, they're not precision at all, and many times the screws just go in crooked. Sometimes they strip. Remember, pickguard screws are little bitty tiny short screws, and there's like 9 of them, and all they have to do is hold the pickguard, which does have some weight to it because again the pickups are mounted to the back of it and the switches, but it's just got to hold the pickguard flat into the guitar. So it's not holding a ton of weight, and again, like I say, there's like 9 screws. I forget, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, this is a 9, that's what I thought. So there's 9 of these screws holding this thing in nice and flat. So what I'm probably going to have to do to make this work right is I'm probably going to have to do the old carpenter glue and matchstick trick where you take either toothpicks or a wooden matchstick and you glue in the hole and then drill a hole that will match the pickguard. Again, this is part of piecing together guitars. It's very hard to find precision parts for each one of these. Now, if I was really a craftsman and I had the know-how, you can actually buy pickguard stock material, sheets of this plastic that's already, plied and pressed in any color you want. And then if you have a template and the right type of tool, you can cut out your own. I don't have that. And in fact, I will share with you that when I did the OG bass and got that green pickguard, it was made for a Fender Precision bass, which is what that is. But that's a Mexican-made Fender Precision bass, and as such, either the bass or the pickguard, which I think was made in China because it was cheap, didn't match perfectly, so I had to alter it. What I did was I took my Dremel tool and I had it turned up way too high, and what happens to plastic when you try to cut it with a fast-moving Dremel? It melts, which makes a mess and doesn't make a clean cut. I've learned a lot since then, but from 10 feet away, it looks pretty good. But if you get up close to the OG bass, especially around the neck pocket, you can see where it's very amateurish, but from a distance it looks fine. All that to say, it's very hard to get these to fit perfectly unless you're talking custom shop, and we're not talking that at the Guitar Foster Parent. So this will work fine. I've looked at it, I've got it laying on here. As you can see, it's laying on here where the cavity is covered, all of the old holes are covered, we're even Steven on the bridge area. In other words, if I were to measure from here to this hole and here to this hole, it will be even. And our neck pocket is fine. It will clear just fine the way it is. So, and I've dry fit this already. In fact, here's the neck. I'll just set the neck in the neck pocket, which is kind of how I started. With the neck in the neck pocket, then I kind of move the thing around, and I've discovered that if I get it just so, and see if it's like this, we've got exposure here. If I get it covered like it's supposed to, we're going to have an issue with the holes. So we're going to be drilling some new pickguard holes and probably filling some of the other ones to get the screws to grip. But don't worry, it's going to work just fine. And again, I'm going to be as neat as possible, but it's not going to show. The only time you're going to know is if you remove the pickguard, you'll see that work. But that's not a big deal, right? As I indicated earlier, I've got some copper shielding tape. We'll be shielding this entire cavity. I'm a big believer in that. What I did behind the scenes was I ordered some decals, all right? And I'm not going to tell you the company because I'm not super thrilled about how they turned out. I don't feel like that I really kind of got what I said I was going to get, or maybe I just didn't understand. But I've been calling this the Gio Jazz, all right? And I wanted to put something on this headstock. You know, I didn't want to just leave it blank, although that's still not out of the question. I'll tell you that right now. But here's what I did. I found a company that makes guitar headstock decals, and they're supposed to mimic what might be on a factory Fender guitar, for example. Here's what I got. I got this, you know, and I had it done in silver. So these letters are silver because I thought that would look good with the blue instead of gold. And then Gio Jazz. And so the problem that I have, and I'm going to set it on the headstock now so you can see. The problem, and I ordered several of these because I knew I'd messed probably the first two up, and it was just as cheap to get 3 or 4 than it was for one. Is that I'm not sure how it's going to look on here. So here's what I'm thinking about doing, and this is where I'm going to ask for your comments at the bottom of this video. I really need some guidance here because I've asked some of my friends and they're split right down the middle. My plan is to cut this apart, to cut the Gio Jazz part off and place it down here at the end. Okay, so it will just be down here. And as you can see, these letters are way too large. Even if this was a bass, so, you know, they say that this is supposed to look like a Fender. The letters on the Fender are a third the size of this, maybe smaller. But anyway, I didn't pay much for it. So if I did this, I would put the Gio Jazz down here at the end. I would take the script GFP, which stands for Guitar Foster Parent, and I thought that was kind of a subtle way to commemorate where it came from. I'm not looking to advertise with these, you know, it's not gimmicky like that, but I thought it might be a cool way to remember where the guitar came from. But if I put it around, if I remove the string tree here and put the decal kind of at an angle following the flow here, and then put the string tree back, it might look okay. If I put this on, I'm pretty sure I will, unless I just overwhelming majority says don't do it. I'm not going to varnish over it. I'm not going to put any type of lacquer or anything over it, so that if the Forever Home hates the decal, you can just take it off with your fingernail, I think. It's not going to be anything that's going to be permanent. And then you can probably just wipe down this headstock with some sort of wood cleaner or something and you'll be good to go. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It might end up looking cool and it will add some character to the guitar. But if you think that that's an abomination and that should never happen and oh my gosh, John, what have you been smoking? Let me know in the comments below and I can be convinced of the error of my ways. All right, so that's the last thing that we're going to cover today. By the way, I got stickers and picks. Haven't sent any out in a while, but I've got plenty left. So if you'd like some, just send me your address. I'd love to give them to you free of charge just for watching and being a friend to us here at Guitar Foster Parent. So now that we've explained all of this stuff to you, next time we're going to begin putting this together. The first thing that we're probably going to do before we get all the electronics is I'm going to prepare the body with the holes that we talked about. So I will precision line this up exactly where it needs to be like we talked about. And I'm going to get a caliper out. I have a measuring caliper that is used for measuring super fine measurements. I'm going to use that to measure right here because this and the neck pocket on either end are going to be my guides. The neck pocket must fit, and then after I know the neck pocket fits, I'm going to scoot it to where these holes are even, and then once I do that, I'm going to make sure everything that needs to be covered is covered. So see down here, it needs to move slightly because that hole is exposed. So, you know, we're going to line it up and then I'll clamp it down with some soft clamps so it won't mar the finish. I'm going to clamp the pickguard in place, and then I'm going to mark the holes in the pickguard where the screws need to be. And then I'm going to take some carpenter's glue and probably a whole wad, fistful of toothpicks and maybe some matchsticks, and I'm going to begin moving the screw holes. I've done this before, like on door jambs where I've replaced a door and the holes weren't quite right. It works fine if it doesn't show, and it won't on this. And I'm going to try to be neat anyway, but I'm pretty good at that. I've had to monkey with stuff like that before, and it's worked out fine. So I'm not worried about it. What I do want is I want the screws on the pickguard to look nice and flush and flat. I don't want them to be toenailed in or, look weird or not be gripping anything so that they fall out. I don't want any of that kind of thing going on. So that's going to be what we're going to do next time on Guitar Foster Parent, is preparing the pickguard to be mounted. And if we have time after that, I'll go ahead and start putting things into the pickguard in terms of the electronics. That's it. We're out of time. Please like and subscribe the video. Thanks for joining us today on the Guitar Foster Parent. It's nice to be inside because it's in the 90s in Dallas now and very humid. So it's good to be inside. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John, delighted that you're a part of our mission here where every guitar deserves to be played at the Guitar Foster Parent. So